I start with a title when I get an inspiration for writing a book, and the title, We Are Their Heaven, the inspiration behind the book was that out of the thousands of readings that I had done, it all came down to the same theme. And although the people that died would describe what the ethereal heaven is, that other side that they exist, that almost all of them would describe things that happened around the living people that they loved. And I noticed the theme was that we, the living that they love, seem to be this word that we give a utopia, which is their heaven. So it seemed like although they had this really fantastic place that they could reside with all the people who died before them, what it all kept coming down to is that a lot of them weren't ready to leave, not because they were bound here by guilt or something horrible, but because they enjoy being here. They enjoyed living, and they enjoy being a part of the living's lives and watching our achievements and intervening on our behalf when they're given that position to do so. So that was the running force behind We Are Their Heaven and what it became, dealing with topics such as suicides and answering questions for people around murder victims so that people have a better understanding from my perspective of not only what their heaven is, but what happens to them after they die in a more divided sense. People die in different ways, and so the living suffer in other ways, worrying about the people who had passed. And so I wanted to kind of put to rest some of the worries of the living surrounding different types of deaths. While I was writing my first book, Don't Kiss Them Goodbye, I already knew that the second book was going to closely follow my first, where I would be given the opportunity to go into more detail. My first book's more of background on myself as a child and how I dealt with it, my first experiences, and being studied in laboratories by scientists, things of that nature. I tried to give people more of a personal look, not only at me in my second book, but at the people who had suffered the losses, because I find a lot of books that are written about death don't really give a voice to the people who suffered the loss. So I wanted to do that. I think that made my book different than a lot of books in that I didn't just give my perspective on the reading. I allowed them in their own words to give their own perspectives and words of wisdom to other people who have suffered the same kind of loss as they had, such as loss of child is an entire chapter, a loss of spouse is another complete chapter, and break down the different types of losses, and then break it down into different ways to lose somebody, and again provide words of wisdom and support for the people that are just trying to make it day to day and find a way through the pain that they've experienced in their own lives. I think this book is written for people who have really suffered either great loss or are really trying to understand the different recesses of death, the different depths of it, or trying to be more understanding for other people that they know that have endured it themselves. This book would be helpful for. We have a chapter on how to, deal with your abilities, how to deal with, all of the baggage that comes along in life. Some exercises are provided in the book to try and help people to energetically help themselves out and how to use people on the other side to help you achieve this that can take away some of your hardships. So I find that very important. It's also really geared towards me asking questions about, who I am, and mediums across the board. We have different professions, and I have a chapter that touches on religion, which is very taboo to a lot of people. They don't want to go there, but I think it's a place that needs to be studied and looked at, and so I do that, and had an encounter with a Catholic priest who's a medium, and I had dinner with him, and so I included some of the conversation that we had, and I found it fascinating. And I challenged people to look at their own beliefs and what they're made of and, what it is they're looking for in life. I try to inspire people with this book. It is a very in-depth look at loss. It's also a book about healing and living, and I find it very uplifting in the sense that I think it teaches us everything that I have anyways to teach on how to live better, or what to ask of yourself to make life all that it can be, so that at the end of our life, my life, your life, everybody's life, that when you cross that finish line, you're not looking back wishing you'd just run a little bit faster, for a better finish. It implores people to do that throughout their life and to live life without regret.